Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. In today's installment, we're going to go through this really great little stack of cards that you see in front of you. And what this is, all of these, with one exception that we'll see at the end, were picked up and are destined for a project that I've been working on all year. And that is a Z-Folio album that pays tribute to the Negro Leagues and that era of baseball. So inside of that, there are going to be true Negro Leagues baseball cards, which are few and far between, but also a lot of like bridge players, guys who joined Major League Baseball after beginning in the Negro Leagues, and anything else I can think of that is a fitting tribute. And now that we're into December, really need to get my button gear. I am hoping over the course of this winter to complete this Z-Folio, but it holds 360 cards. So that is a tall order. So along those lines, we're going to get through this batch today, and then I'll go file them all away and get a little bit closer to being able to debut that Z-Folio here on the channel. And here is the first card going in that you probably saw on top of the stack. Those of you with an eagle eye, this is the 2023 Topps Chrome Gilded Collection, one of my favorite modern sets, Jackie Robinson card. And many of you may not put a card like this into a binder, but I am not above that. More than happy to put some valuable cards into this Z-Folio as well. They're preserved pretty well in there, given that they stay in penny sleeves. And I have a page of that Z that I'm populating with all of these Topps Chrome Gilded Collection cards featuring former Negro League greats. So Jackie Robinson, this is the base card, but in that high-end product, even the base cards are numbered to 99. And I am fortunate enough to have a gold etch mini diamond, which is numbered to 50, that is PSA graded. So I'll still have a copy of this outside of the Z-Folio per se, but this one here is destined for the Z, and look how great that card looks when the light catches it. And then sticking with the modern shine, and then we're going to get into some vintage for a minute, but one more shiny card, and another one that's kind of crazy to put into an album versus like a one-touch magnetic or something. This is the Buck Leonard from last year's Panini Prism release. Absolutely love the Prism cards of the Negro League greats that were included last year on the checklist, both Buck Leonard, who you see here, and Cool Papa Bell. I know Cool Papa Bell is back for the 2024 release that just dropped recently as well. But anyway, in this case, this is a blue shimmer, and it's one of the toughest parallels of this Buck Leonard that you can possibly get your hands on. It is numbered, if you can see on the back, to just 7 copies. I have copy 1 of 7 here, and I have a whole spread in that Z-Folio that is different versions of the rainbow of those two Prism Homestead Grays Negro League cards. So that one will be a welcome addition to that 2-page spread, and definitely one of the lowest numbered cards in the whole binder, being numbered to just 7. Let's move on now, as promised, to some vintage pickups. I have a whole section of the binder, and again, you'll see this at some future date on the channel, that features 1957 Topps cards. And I went that direction for a couple of reasons. First of all, I love the 57 set and the great photographs. In fact, I ranked this really high when I did my vintage set ranking a while back with a couple of friends here on YouTube, Dylan and Doug. So I love 57 Topps. And then aside from that, just based on the era that the set came in, the late 50s, there are a ton of players on the checklist who began their career in the Negro Leagues. So I have a 2-page spread of 57 Topps cards in that binder. And I have 3 in today's video that I haven't shown yet on the channel. These were picked up over the course of this summer, and we'll finally see the light of day today. So we start off with George Crowe and his great glasses there. Love this classic batting pose. And I'm not going to get into summaries on all of these guys and their careers. You can look them up. I'm already at the 4-minute mark, and I have plenty more to get to here. Suffice it to say, each of these 3 gentlemen started off playing for a Negro League franchise before later transitioning to Major League Baseball. Here's a great Al Smith, and I tried to find versions of these that were like, maybe $2 or $3, but not perfect copies by any means, but well-centered, and they display really nice visually. They're going into a binder anyway, so they don't need to be, extremely mint or anything like that. And then the third and final one, Sandy Amoros for the Brooklyn Dodgers. I love this card and this photograph, specifically with him kind of kneeling at the plate. This one has a little bit of like a scratch or a fold in the left border there, but it's, you don't really notice it unless you tilt the card at a certain light and kind of see it there. and it's well centered and matches the other cards that have gone into that Z-Folio nicely. So 3 more additions there to the 1957 top section. And then next up, we have a couple of buybacks. You guys who have, and gals who have watched the channel for any length of time, you know that I'm a huge fan of buyback cards. And I have a trio here from the Allen and Ginter buyback program that took place in 2015 when they bought back prior versions of the A and G cards from the first 9 years of the release and did these 10th anniversary buybacks. So this Monty Irvin was a 2006 Allen and Ginter card initially, and then stamped as part of the buyback program. So this was the first A and G set, and as such, he was one of the very first bridge players to get an Allen and Ginter baseball card. So I was able to find the buyback version of this on ComC, and this one will go right into the binder. And then here's a couple of guys that I talked about in a recent video. John Mule Miles and Stanley Glenn featured their autographed cards in a recent episode that I was really, really proud to put together. And while I didn't show these in that episode due to trying to keep it a little bit more on the brief side, wanted to get them some channel time as well. These are fantastic cards and really, really cool that I could have not only Negro League cards from Allen and Ginter, but buybacks of Negro Leagues cards from Allen and Ginter. So I love these two, and these will become resident in the binder on the same page or in the same area as that Monty Irvin. And then next up, this section is going to be kind of cool. This is going to be a whole complete page that I'm going to lay out that features these Panini Cooperstown cards. Now, this set came out for a couple of years. It was done in 2012 and 2013, at least that I know of. And the majority of these are the 2013 versions. But of course, I went out and found some really shiny, sparkly parallels to kind of give some color and nice shine to the binder alongside, the other vintage cards. And we're going to start with a trio that is going to go on the top row of the page of the red parallels. So we have Satchel Paige here, and this is a great team color match for that Monarchs uniform, even though it's a black and white photo, but really dig that card. Panini did a fantastic job with these Cooperstown sets, and they have various Negro League players represented on the checklist. These reds are numbered to 399 on the back. Next to him, I'm going to have Roy Campanella, and then Jackie as well, also on the Monarchs. So that trio will go along the top row of the page. And then along the bottom row of the page, I will have a similar trio, but I'm going to go with the green Crystal Shard parallel. These are not serial numbered, as you can see on the back, but going to do a row of Buck Leonard, one of my favorite players. And I actually have an entire episode dedicated to my Buck Leonard pickups that I'll be getting on the channel soon. But for today, just that one. And then have the Roy Campanella again. And of course, the Satchel Paige again. I don't mind having some repeats. The idea is for this page to be kind of a colorful Panini Cooperstown layout. And there weren't 9 different players on the checklist, so I've got to double up a bit. Here are the really cool ones. This is going to be the middle row, wedged in between the red and the green, these gold Crystal Shards. So I've got Jackie Robinson, he'll be on one side. Buck Leonard, he'll be on the other. And these are numbered as well to 299. You can see at the bottom here of the Buck Leonard card. It's a little bit tough to make out. And then in between those, at the very center of the page, I have just one from the 2012 release, and it's this great Oscar Charleston. Now, this is fantastic. This is a guy, if you're not familiar with him, highly recommend researching at least the limited information that's out there about him, but generally recognized as one of the greatest black baseball players ever to play the game. He played really long before the formation of the Negro Leagues proper, but just about everybody who was around during this time period, regardless of skin color, would reference him as one of the best players in the game. If you've read the Baseball 100, book that I know a lot of us have read by Joe Posnanski, this guy was rated incredibly high on that list, shockingly high, like a top 10 player of all time. I won't spoil it, but just a really interesting personality in baseball history. And what I find fascinating about him, more so than anyone we're looking at today, he has so few cards that exist, period. In a day of overproduction where you see these prospects that get dozens and dozens and dozens of parallels released every single year, and guys have hundreds of cards out there before they've even, faced their first major league pitch. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have somebody like this, who's an all-time great. And if you just search eBay, for example, for Oscar Charleston, there are less cards available of him, maybe just 100 total cards, all versions, multiples, and everything on all of eBay. And he's maybe got the greatest disparity of any player I can think of between greatness on the field and limited number of cards that exist. So if you can find any Oscar Charleston card whatsoever, highly recommend picking one up. He absolutely belongs in the binder, and I wanted to be sure that one of my 360 cards would in fact be an Oscar Charleston, so very, very happy to see that one. So all of that is Z-Folio food or fuel. And then I have one card here that is not going to go into the Z, just because at least so far I don't have a section for these, but it's one of my favorite parallels. I've shown plenty of these before. This is the Rainbow Foil Board parallel of the 2015 Stadium Club Monty Irvin card. Check this out. Lighting in here maybe not ideal, but you can kind of get a sense for just how much these dance. I love these. They've existed for more than 10 years now. Very scarce, always numbered to just 25 every year for 10 plus years running, and was able to scoop up on, of all places, on ComC. Was able to scoop up this Monty Irvin. Last I looked, there was actually one of these on Sport Lots available for about $15. So if you are a Monty Irvin collector, I would highly recommend, if you have a Sport Lots account and you're interested in this card, heading over there and maybe grabbing that copy. You can see the serial numbering here, always out of 25. And yeah, just the latest addition to my somewhat decent collection that I've built up now over the years of these Rainbow Foil Board beauties out of Stadium Club. And the final card that we're going to look at in today's video. So that one is not destined for the Z-Folio, but everything else that we saw today certainly is. Nice range of cards, and this is really going to spice up the album nicely and get me a little bit closer to completion. So we'll wrap it there. As I always say, I really appreciate your time in checking out this video. I know there's a sea of content out there, and everybody's time is limited, so it means a lot to me, especially if you stuck it out to the end. And as you know, I'll be back soon with some more sports card content. But until then, keep enjoying the hobby, everybody. See ya.